Have you ever heard of a town where hope, vision, and resilience converged in a dream for Black independence and self-determination? Welcome to Allensworth, a unique chapter in American history. Founded in 1908 in the San Joaquin Valley of California, Allensworth was envisioned as a community where African Americans could live, work, and prosper free from the prejudice and segregation rampant in the early 20th century. But what happened to this audacious dream, and how does Allensworth stand today? Allensworth was founded on August 3, 1908, by Colonel Allen Allensworth, a former slave, Union Army veteran, and Baptist minister. Situated in Tulare County, California, Allensworth was conceived as a self-sufficient agricultural community where African Americans could escape the racial discrimination that was common throughout the United States at the time. The idea of building an all-black town was radical for its era, but Allensworth and his co-founders, Professor William Payne, Dr. William Peck, J.W. Palmer, and Harry Mitchell, believed in the power of community and autonomy. They envisioned a place where African Americans could thrive, own land, and have access to quality education, while building a town that would be a beacon of Black achievement. Colonel Allen Allensworth's journey to founding the town that bore his name was one of immense perseverance. Born into slavery in Kentucky in 1842, Allensworth experienced the brutality of enslavement firsthand. Despite this, he taught himself to read and write, an act that was illegal for slaves at the time. During the Civil War, he escaped enslavement and joined the Union Army, rising to the rank of lieutenant colonel, the highest rank achieved by an African American during his era. After the war, Allensworth became a Baptist minister and educator. He devoted his life to uplifting Black Americans, promoting education and advocating for civil rights. He traveled extensively, giving lectures about the importance of self-reliance and racial uplift. His vision for an independent Black community was the culmination of his life's work, a practical manifestation of his belief in the power of education, economic independence, and community. Allensworth and his co-founders sought to create a community where African Americans could escape the systemic racism and economic exploitation that plagued much of the country. Jim Crow laws, segregation, and widespread racial violence were everyday realities for Black Americans in the early 20th century. Allensworth wanted to prove that African Americans could succeed in a town that they controlled, without interference from a racist society. The town's founders purchased 800 acres of land in Tulare County, which was considered a prime location for agriculture. The fertile soil and relatively cheap land prices were key factors in choosing the site for Allensworth. The founders believed that by creating an agricultural economy, the town could become self-sufficient, providing residents with a stable income while allowing them to live in dignity and security. Allensworth initially thrived. By 1914, the town boasted over 200 residents and had a number of businesses, including a general store, a bakery, a school, and a church. The town's residents cultivated crops like alfalfa, wheat, and barley, and many owned livestock. The Pacific Farming Company helped sell the agricultural produce, and the town had its own post office and voting precinct, further symbolizing its independence and self-governance. Education was a cornerstone of Allensworth's vision. The town's school was an important institution, not just for children but for adults who wanted to learn new skills. Colonel Allensworth hoped that the town would eventually become a center for Black education, with plans to build a college that would rival Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. However, the town's existence was not free from external pressures. Despite the founders' best efforts, racism and systemic discrimination continued to be major hurdles for Allensworth. White settlers and neighboring towns often refused to do business with Allensworth residents, and discriminatory lending practices made it difficult for farmers to get the credit they needed to sustain their businesses. Additionally, the Pacific Farming Company, which had promised water for irrigation, failed to deliver adequate resources. Water scarcity became a critical issue as farming in the Central Valley depended heavily on irrigation. The lack of water severely hindered crop production, putting the town's economy in jeopardy. The final blow came in 1914 when Colonel Allensworth was killed in a tragic accident. While crossing a street in Monrovia, California, he was struck by a motorcycle and died from his injuries. His death was a devastating loss for the community, as he had been the driving force behind the town's vision and leadership. After Allensworth's death, the town began a slow decline. Water shortages persisted, and without adequate irrigation, farming became increasingly difficult. The Southern Pacific Railroad, which had once served as a lifeline for transporting goods, reduced its service to the town, further isolating it from potential markets. By the 1920s, many of Allensworth's residents had moved away in search of better opportunities. Without a stable economy, the town struggled to survive. In 1966, Allensworth School closed, marking the end of the town as a functioning community. The population dwindled, and the town was largely abandoned. Although the founders of Allensworth worked tirelessly to create an economically self-sustaining town, systemic racism played a key role in its ultimate decline. Discriminatory practices extended beyond the neighboring town's unwillingness to trade with Allensworth. Racism permeated financial institutions which offered unfair loan terms or outright refused to provide African American farmers with the financial backing needed to expand or maintain their businesses. This lack of capital prevented the town from flourishing to its full potential, and it also made it difficult to weather the natural challenges of farming, such as droughts or poor crop yields. Furthermore, government policies during this period were not designed to support Black-owned towns. Allensworth's leadership sought assistance to resolve its water crisis but received little to no support from local or state governments. The Southern Pacific Railroad's reduction in service further compounded these issues, as it cut off one of the town's most important economic lifelines. The dwindling access to outside markets made it nearly impossible for the town's agricultural goods to reach buyers, further damaging the local economy. Although Allensworth did not fulfill its founders' dreams, its legacy has not been forgotten. In the 1970s, the state of California recognized the historical significance of the town and began efforts to preserve it. Today, the town is part of Colonel Allensworth State Historic Park, a memorial to the vision of Black self-determination and independence. Visitors to the park can tour restored buildings, including the schoolhouse, church, and general store. The park hosts events and educational programs that honor the town's history and the broader African American experience in California. While Allensworth may not have thrived economically, its spirit of resilience and hope continues to inspire those who visit the site today. The park itself is a peaceful but poignant reminder of what could have been. Visitors from all over the country come to learn about the story of Allensworth and to reflect on the broader African American experience in the United States. Though the town did not succeed in its original form, the story of Allensworth is still alive and serves as a symbol of the Black struggle for self-determination, dignity, and equality. While the physical town of Allensworth may not have survived the harsh realities of economic hardship and systemic racism, its legacy endures as a powerful example of Black resilience. The town stands as a testament to the courage and determination of African Americans to carve out their own spaces, create their own futures, and resist the oppressive forces that sought to diminish their potential. The story of Allensworth reminds us that while economic and social systems may fail, the spirit of hope and the dream of equality persist. Colonel Allensworth and the other founders may not have lived to see the fruition of their dream, but their vision continues to resonate, inspiring new generations to build communities based on equality, justice, and shared prosperity.